And then, I mean, there was a lot of shakeups with the company. And then,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, I feel like I just kind of lost touch with everybody.
I feel like I moved
um,
to Chicago too, so like that even put me a world away from LA, Santa Barbara world. Like I haven't been back in a long minute
oh,
too.
wow.
All of I know left is like Bethany and a friend of mine there. But like everyone always moves away when you go to college there. People
Yeah.
barely ever stay there. So I was like, oh, this is my town to be in forever. Okay.
And then how long have you been in Chicago now?
About a year now. So
Oh,
I've moved here end of June, like top of July.
how do you like it?
I love it. It is my biggest concern was just the weather. Can I handle the winter?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, you know what? You braced through a mild winter. I know it's mild. Everyone's gonna roast me, but it's like if you can get through snow, all of that stuff. I'm like, you know what? I love the city. If that's the only con, screw it. Let's
Yeah, run with it.
kind of thing. Yep, it's crazy.
And and out there too now you're working with the Creative Network, right?
Yeah. Are you with
That's
Creative
dope.
Network?
No, I'm not right now. I'm not right now. I just got so much going on with work. Like trying to squeeze that in is so tough.
Yeah.
It's
What is your life update? Is this live right
Um.
now? We gonna get the live.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. We're live. We're live right now. We are. Yeah, we are live in the smoking section. Yes, we
Okay.
are.
Well, the world's gonna know where tea. Okay.
But no, I've been working. I've always worked in like trade work, like as an electrician. And then I got this job with this company, and I mean they work me like a dog, which I thoroughly enjoy. Like let me just work. Let me, it keeps
Yeah.
me out of trouble. All that shit. Um,
Yeah.
when you work so much, you don't have enough time to spend money. So it's like I just keep the money that I
Mm.
have. Um, but recently they actually let me join a travel group with work. We were installing like on military bases, and so I was
Wow.
traveling all last year doing that. So that was pretty fun. Still dancing,
Yeah.
still crumping, doing my
Yeah.
thing. That's a late night thing, so I at least have that. But
Yeah.
yeah, still crumping.
Dang.
I did a couple events in Florida while I was there, and I got to session with some people from Texas while I was there.
Okay.
So yeah, still just
Yeah.
doing my thing.
Awesome. It's balancing. I feel like when we hit a certain age, it's like, okay, dance can't be our whole lives, or if it doesn't pay for a whole income, how do you balance both worlds?
Hmm.
So it's not like you found a formula to pay your cost of living, stay out of trouble, don't spend, put into your family, dance on the
Hmm.
side, that type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Know
don't
that.
like. I think too, like kind of as we get big and start taking on big boy girl, like big boy and big girl jobs and all
Yeah.
the shit. Like there's still people who I admire, who I really look to as dancers who are kind of barely breaking through to the certain parts of the industry they want to be part of. They're finally getting gigs with certain
Yeah.
artists or at certain venues, and they're like 36, 37, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I got a lot of time to still and just enjoy this. Like no need to
Right.
pressure. No need to pressure.
You got to enjoy it first because it's,
Mhm.
like I think a lot of people get away with careers that they don't love, but it pays well. And if
Mhm.
it's like something like for you to stick it through past 5, 10 plus years, you gotta love it.
Yeah, you really got to
That's
love
just
it.
not gonna pay you well.
And
We'll
it's
try to
cool.
change it, but
It,
yeah,
it's cool too to see kind of some more of the stuff that you've been getting into too. Like the recent podcast clips I've seen of you were really
yeah,
cool. Those were really cool.
yeah. That's kind of crazy. That's how you reached out to me, and I was like, I looked up our chat. I was like, oh my gosh, you even asked me 2 years ago. I totally forgot. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I was like, you still do your
Uh,
podcast? Like, I
mm,
didn't even see your podcast anywhere. So
yeah.
yeah, I think I'm kind of ready to receive that I want to go full force of podcast. Like I've done podcast test runs in the past, but I've never like, all right, this is the thing I'm gonna commit to week in and week out, rain or
Hmm.
sunshine. We're gonna turn out of something. So yeah, I think that podcast for me was really like, okay, this is something. It feels so organic and natural for me that I really want to see where this goes, kind of thing.
Yeah, like when I was even when I was watching, I was like, she seems so fluid. Like while she's doing this, like this just seems like it's just happening. Sometimes, like there's certain podcasts that I've watched and listened to where I can kind of tell like some of the stuff
Yeah.
people really like prepared for like really really hard, which is cool. Like
Yeah.
it's a cool part of their craft. But
Right.
I don't know, there's also a certain feel that I like when people are just kind of
Right.
smooth, kind of going off the hip with
Right.
it.
It feels
uh,
manufactured.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't
I
know,
think also just
everybody,
matters.
yeah,
Yeah, I
everybody
think
has their own thing.
I think it's also just like knowing like A, what kind of podcast you want, B, what kind of audience are you trying to hit? Like I know for him, he was trying to go for the casual vibe. He's not trying to
Hmm.
it's a homey feeling. It's not like, CBS, welcome to our correspondence type of feeling. You're hitting a certain kind of crowd demographic for that. It makes sense. You
Hmm.
want to come across professional and expert.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm the same way. I like to vibe where it's a little bit more casual and there's organic conversation and flow. It's like I call it spiritually smoking a blunt, you know,
Yeah.
passing the metaphorical blunt
Yeah.
type of thing.
If you were to start a podcast today, what do you think you would base it around, or do you think you'd have a topic?
I don't know if I have a specific topic, but I know I think for me the hard thing is I want to talk about everything. And so it's
Hmm.
like deciding what kind of specific clumps of things I want to talk about. Um, and I know I want to talk in umbrella sense about intimacy and um, really connecting back to human connection. I think we've
Hmm.
lost the soul of anything we do, like literally anything from
Hmm.
cooking to brushing teeth to walking to work life to education to whatever. So it's like, how do you bring back that soul element and how do you find the nuance and the critical thinking in things? I think
Mm.
we don't know how to think critically. We just are critical of people.
Oh my God, that
You know
was
what
a
I mean?
that was a mouthful. That was a
That's
lot.
the shower thought. I'm like, wait a minute.
That
This
was a
girl.
lot, yo. And I mean, I I think for like the better part of the last few years, everyone has been so like niche based with everything that they do. Like they want to be super super niche based, which is
Yeah.
fine. Like I never want to knock somebody's tactic to how they do their do.
Right.
But if you just want to talk about whatever, that's what I do. I
Yeah.
tell everybody I have cool friends that do cool stuff and I like talking to them. So
Yep.
you're doing some really cool stuff. You're doing like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, even shout out the Treehouse podcast, because because of your clip, I
Yeah.
looked through all their stuff. I was like, yo, this
You
is so,
did.
yeah, oh yeah. I was like, this is so rad.
Yes.
I'm a true fan. I'm
Yeah.
a real fan out here. Like I'm a real fucking fan
Yeah.
of y'all out here.
I chatted with him. I was like, he really put his effort, his grind into it to build that up. Like I think he's one of the rare people I've come across where you really speak about consistency. Because I think a lot of people, like that's what made me so hesitant to start podcasts. Like everyone's trying to start a podcast here, podcast there.
Mm-hmm.
But which is fine. It's beautiful if you're doing it purely for like expression, joy, fun, hobby. But if you're trying to go for business and you're trying to make like an actual business thing out of this, you need to be able to consistently go in and go out day in and day out, whether you like it or not. That you have to commit to it. There's no one yelling at you to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think his work speaks for that. Is like you put in the grind for I think it was like 2+ years he's done it
Mm-hmm.
to get to the level of like community that he has to speak through and like just
Awesome.
talking to him. There's so much strategy to it. Um, so yeah, it's the business versus the art, and you have to know why you're doing it and which part of are you doing it. So for you, if you're doing it for funsies, great. If it gives you spiritual wholeness, if it gives you connection and networking to people, great. If it's a business thing, that's a whole different mindset to get into to make it
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, like when I first started this, like I was like I've told people a few times, like it was just I was going through a rough part in life and I needed to put my thoughts down on wax. And then I
Yep.
remember letting a couple people listen to some, and then they're like, "Yo, you should make a podcast out of this." I was like, "Okay." So I just
That's so real.
so
That was
I still
me.
try to treat it the same way. I try to treat it the same way, like I am just
Yeah.
talking into the void, and whoever
Yeah.
listens listens, and it's okay. Like
Yeah.
that's always kind of been my, even like with dance, like I'm gonna just do me, and if somebody rocks with it, they rock with it.
Yeah.
As long as I'm cool with it, I'm
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And I feel like what I'm hearing from you is like you this is your therapy. right?
Mhm.
Even your energy you give me right now, and what I've gotten to know you is like you're naturally more introverted, it feels like.
Mhm.
So you can reclude into your thoughts, and this helps you externalize it in a space that feels conducive and like productive versus destructive. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I think that's what it is. It doesn't have to be this following whatever fuck. Like if that's the thing that gives you soul, cool. Fuck everybody
Well,
else.
well, matter of fact, me and a couple of my boys, we do a Tuesday podcast, and we get in there and we mansplain shit. Like, we get in there and we
Okay. I'll
mansplain some stuff.
explicitly acknowledge it.
Like, yeah, we mansplain some stuff,
Yeah.
and we bounce these ideas around. And one day we were talking about like red flags and stuff, right?
Right.
And it got into a really deep therapy session. And
Yep.
I had a couple people message me and they're like, "Yo, we'd love for you to have a girl come on and talk about this." And so when I seen that clip of you on that podcast, I was like, "Oh, this is perfect timing." So
Yeah.
I did like, cuz you were even talking about it earlier too, like how we're losing like human connections, right? And that is kind of something that like I wanted to make sure I did on this,
Mm.
because this really all started during like the pandemic. And so being able to talk to my
Mhm.
buddies like in North Carolina or over here, New Zealand, like, dude, how are you? Like, how's the lockdown going, bro? Like, and at least we could see each other and talk
Right.
and have this conversation. And so like I did want to pick your brain a little bit though about how like how you see how human connection is nowadays. Cause I feel like it hasn't felt the same in a while. Like
No.
pre-pandemic type shit.
No. Well, I think it's both. Um, you made my brain go into like three rabbit holes. I'm like, which one a
What?
tangent?
Let's
Um,
walk them.
yeah, it's so funny you say that too, because part of what I had with my conversation with my friend was that I have a lot of thoughts that can feel controversial because we're in this time of like everything is very PC, everything's packaged into a certain way so we don't offend people.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of truth in like, if we're coming from like gender binary type of thing or, more heterosexual way, there's a guy's experience and there's a woman's experience. And I think there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of let's talk about the other space that we don't know how to acknowledge our own doing and contribution that causes that hurt or pain or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so if you want to talk from a dating perspective, or you want to talk about dating or like human connection in general, because that's two different scopes of
Let's start with dating. I think that's going to be
knowledge.
the easiest for
Yeah.
everybody.
I think with dating, if you mentioned like pandemic stuff, I think pandemic has poked a core in realizing the void that we've been avoiding since pre-pandemic. Because now you have the
Mm.
first time in your life to sit with your own emotions. You literally cannot escape it. Or you try to escape it with social media, TV shows, video games, whatever vice you want to pick. And then even then that's not enough because you're still stuck in a box for months after months. You still can't do certain things. You can't see certain friends. You're forced to deal with the fact that something you anticipated is now canceled. Someone in your life died. Someone's in the hospital. Like there's just
Mm-hmm.
so many things you're forced to
Mm-hmm.
deal with your emotions on overdrive. So there's a lot of surfacing of that. So you have two types of crowds in a high level that is able to tap into their soul now in a way that they never had. And it took something as dramatic as a pandemic to realize that consciousness. Or they go the opposite extreme when they're like, oh my God, ew, emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Let's avoid even harder. Let's find all the technology, all the mechanisms, all the vices, all the escapisms to create a happier external life, but I'm still very broken inside. So I think you
Mm.
have these two extremes. You have, and even in that space, you have the extreme of like, there's a consciousness that's being awoken in us on like a macro level where like, wow, there's so many wrong in this world. George Floyd, anti-Asian hate, you know, Me Too movement, blah blah. That's pre-pandemic, but you know what I mean. It's like the spiral, the domino effect of all
Yeah.
these things happen. So you have a lot of people that are you're, we're we have people now that are coddled to handling the truth and
Mm.
don't know how to handle resilience, right? I think we
Mhm.
see sensitivity as, I think it's beautiful that we are more sensitive because of the pandemic and we understand how to recognize we're hurting someone better. But
Mhm.
now it's gone to the extreme where we don't know how to reconcile with struggle and resilience and how to overcome that. How do we build compassion and resilience? And
Mhm.
they have other people that are like, emotions, ew.
Mhm.
I we want hyper resilience. Pandemic, we can override this. Let's work even harder. Let's work, like the next level of whatever. So
Mhm.
we take that kind of context into a dating context, you just have so many different values of what people want, but yet we still don't know how to communicate. Like through this experience of pandemic and just through the type of life we live in America and the values that are built in American values, you don't know how to communicate what do you fundamentally want as a person? What do you fundamentally value as a person? What are your deal breakers? What do you prefer? What do you don't prefer? What complements you as a person? I think we just create what used to be just one social norm that you had to follow, and it's your choice to just go against it. Now there's like three, four social norms because we have so many digital communities that
Yeah.
feels like that is the norm. But no, that's just the
Mhm.
mainstream norm in your space. And so if you're
Mhm.
trying to date with other spaces and other generations that have different values, it's just like a pot of question marks.
Well, I think
Yeah.
too there's been a weird cuz from a guy's perspective, I think that there's been a weird shift in this idea of like when we're talking to somebody, there's all these other there's these labels that come along with like a certain standard that we might set, and I've seen that too, and I've seen it from a woman's view, but I can't really speak on it the same way, right? But for like guys, it's like, well, if I don't want a girl that's, who's been a chronic cheater in the past,
Hmm.
right? I could be called a certain shaming. Or if I don't want somebody who behaves in a certain lifestyle, that can be called shaming, right? And I think that people are kind of gotten out of this touch of like, no, like we got to have standards for ourselves too. Like, what I mean? Where,
Hmm.
yeah, I should be understanding of your life. I should be, compassionate and say, hey, you got to go through your own trials and tribulations to figure out who you are as a person. But
Hmm.
doesn't mean I gotta date you. Like, it
Gotta
doesn't mean,
tolerate it.
yeah, it doesn't mean I gotta date you, fam. Like, we could be cool. Like, we could be friends and all that. Like, we can all go on a picnic.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
I know. Like, boundaries has been a big thing, and it was something that we talked about on the podcast. Is like if people can't set boundaries for each other, like, how
Woo!
do we even really know?
That part.
Like, how do I know that you actually like me if I can't tell you no? Like, no, don't do that. Like,
Right.
if I can't say that to you, how do I know that you actually respect me? Type of feel.
Yeah. And yeah. And I think I talk about that with a lot of the other podcasts. It's like, I think a lot of women don't know how to set boundaries. And we're very socialized and trained to people please.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're not allowed to feel what we want, to recognize what we want first and have the balls to say it out loud to the other person and communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's, there's a beauty to a lot of women who are naturally more empathetic from just being taught as a kid to be caring and deal with more shenanigans than they should be putting up with. But
Mm-hmm.
really, it's showing you like, why are you allowing yourself to put up with so much shit in the
Mm-hmm.
first place? And they see them as being a bad person versus you saying no to wrong things is giving yourself self love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if we've grown more since back then, whatever back then feels like as women. I feel like it's just more, I think we're in this time as a society where we're building awareness on a mainstream level, but we haven't crossovered enough to, are we consistently acting on this new awareness now?
Mm-hmm.
that's a bridge that takes a lot of healing to get to that point. Um, and the reality is like there's always shit hitting us in the fucking fan all day long. So to, to ask of that of everyone in society, that's really a hard task. It's beautiful if it can happen, but like on a real note, to bank for that is a really hard ask. So what we can do at least is find the community and find the social circle that is going to emulate what we value, um,
Mm.
and find the right partner for you that is going to reflect that. You know, like I'm a very quirky, unconventional person. I hunt and I have high standards. Like, but that took a while to get to that point. Like there were times I've lowered my standard because I was just lonely or I was just, you know,
Ooh.
wanting affection or
Ooh.
whatever fuck. But it
Ooh.
listen,
Yeah.
when y'all lonely,
It happens.
Lord, who are you? Who are you?
Turn
Who
into
you
different
is?
people.
Listen. So, you know, it's like I spent 2 years plus not dating at all. Like no kissing, no sex, no dating apps, no entertaining who, what DMs. I have perfected the platonic, like, good to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Best to go. Um, but it could help me get clear about like what are my boundaries, who am I, what do I actually value. um,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, we're having these conversations about, you know, what is a good partner, what's a good, what do I like, what do I value, all these things. But I think people, or like what to look out for. But there's times I think we look out for only like big red flags. We
Mm-hmm.
wait for the big red flag to be like, oh no, 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 that's that my boundaries. It's like, no, you have to be able to read people as such, like from the day you met them and you observe every tiny behavior about who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Those little signs is what actually tells you about what they will do to you in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
It's like
littlest things
pieces.
matter.
They're like little pieces of the big red flag. Like all these little actions and all these little things that they say it so naturally out of their mouth. You catch it
Hmm.
and you're like, huh, I wonder what she meant by that. You know what I mean? Like, what did she really mean by that little statement? Or maybe it was just like a disrespectful remark to somebody. And you start, I
Hmm.
mean, I watch for stuff like that, like first dates and second dates. I usually have a pretty good feel if I'm
Same,
gonna like you.
right? And it's very energetic. You have to be able to read that subconscious part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're hurt and you're not healed, you will take those observations and make assumptions, going, you know, they didn't open the door for me. They're a bad man, evil,
Mm-hmm.
cancel him, whatever like assumption they want to create. Or it could just literally be, you know, he was in the middle of paying the parking valet guy, didn't have a chance
Mm-hmm.
to open door for you, or like you already opened it. I don't want to like shove my body to you. Whatever it is, it's like for me, it's like I take it as observations. I will
Mm-hmm.
note that thing. It's in
Mm-hmm.
my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna watch you, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna assume how you're moving necessarily. I'm just taking the notes and I'm looking for a pattern.
Yeah.
Is this general thing? I see this pattern of good or bad behavior, or not even good or bad. Is it compatible with my what I want? Because you can be a great
Ooh.
guy, you're just not compatible for me. We just don't vibe.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. You're great in the other direction. Like, like you're
Right.
great, good person, but I'm going this way and you're going
Yeah.
that way. And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing too. Like I've seen a lot of good people get into really two really good people get into a really bad relationship with each other because there's certain parts of their personality that they exemplify in each other, but then there's also the other parts of their personality that just don't mesh. Like it's not mixing. And I
Mm,
think I think we get confused of, yeah, you might experience this person for a little while and there's a part of your connection that's good, but there's like maybe we might need to put this down. You know what I mean? You might need to
yeah.
put this down and walk away while everybody's still good. It's okay to
Mm,
walk away while you're still up, dude.
amicable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you don't have to lose this person. You shouldn't have to lose this person as a friend to prove a point. You know what I mean? Like to prove the point that we can make it work or whatever people be saying these days. I don't know. I don't try to get too mixed up in all that. If
Yeah.
it's flowing, it's going to me. Like if it's flowing, it's going. If it's not, I'm okay. I'm okay. I gotta keep it stepping.
Yeah. I just started seeing someone recently and we're like pretty new in our dating dynamic.
Ooh, how's
Ah,
that?
tea. Yeah, I'm like, am I not a my little reborn virgin phase of dating anymore? Hilarious. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what you said. It's like a confirmation from me when I got back to dating was like, it shouldn't have to feel hard to date each other. You
Mm-hmm.
can have hard situations and work through that, but with each other, it shouldn't be so difficult to mesh. And
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people either want the perfect, like, so I think I learned from Jay Shetty, I think it was like chemistry versus connection versus compatibility. So the
Mm.
chemistry is the instinctive, like energetic flow. You're just having a conversation, it just feels right. Like we just click. And it could be platonic, romantic, whatever, co-workers, whatever. The connection is like, are we having that emotional bond? Like, is our vibe flowing? Is our values flowing? Kind of thing. And compatibility is, does our life make sense together? Or is our lifestyle making sense together? So I think you have people that are really caught up in like the perfect compatible person. They check all the boxes, you know, six-figure picker fence, lawyer, makes parents happy. It's gonna fit my image of life perfectly. But there's no
Mm-hmm.
chemistry going on here. But you're trying to force this like square and a circle to fit together, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
not fitting. So like you're trying so hard to make it work, but I'm like, it's not working. Like you have to accept you're not compatible for each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or you get the people. I feel like this is the drug of our today's dating world is like chemistry, connection. We're vibing, we're flowing. Let's fuck. Let's do things. Let's have hangouts and stuff. And we have all these situationships, but we don't. We lack the ability or the willingness to commit for the long term relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you both came in as just like sex buddies, casual buddies, situationship, whatever. You've never explicitly created the conversation and dialogue of what is this going to look like? Do we make sense long term? We vibe
Mm-hmm.
well short term. Does this make sense over years, over life? Where are you trying to go? Where are you trying to move? What's your career look like? Do you want family? Do you want kids? All of this stuff. You don't have those conversations. So after a certain point of that utopia phase, now you're trying so hard to make this shit work. It's like, no, your life don't make sense. You
Yeah.
daytime, you nighttime. You know, you are a go-getter, want to be out and about, and you quiet as hell, which is fine. Like there's a certain level of like you got to find complementary opposites that balance each other out, but you have to know when is it too extreme that it just doesn't make sense together.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you know your hardcore, like out of this giant list of what I want, what are the core things I need to have to even be in this relationship?
Absolutely.
So, and out of that core five traits, other things that I'm like, ugh, do I want to deal with this? Is that something these four or five things are worth it enough to deal with those other things?
Yeah. Yeah, because there is some definitely non-negotiables, you know what I mean, that you got
There
to
you
be
go.
able to have.
Non-negotiable. Yeah.
Yeah, and even then, like it's very true. I think that oh God, it was such a bar. I got to remember this stuff. We are so used to like the hookup culture kind of got normalized. Hookup culture got normalized, and yeah, there's stopped being the conversation of what does this look like a few years down the road. You know, everyone hits you with, oh, I'm just vibing, or I just want to see where this goes. Like, yeah, that's literally what I'm asking. Like, where do you think you see this going? Like, I'm literally asking you. And
That's a question.
like, sorry, I'm not going to get in a car with somebody who's driving blindfolded. So
Yeah.
you darn not making me feel safe in this space right now, you know? So no, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, just no, like, no, thank you. I need
Yeah.
to have, you know, at 30 years old, I need to kind of know where you see your life going. You know, if you
Yeah.
don't have kids by now, do you want kids? You know, like,
That's a real
oh,
question.
yeah, you know what I mean? And it's okay. Like, I feel like people are afraid to hear the tough answers to tough questions, and that's something that we got to get used to, you know,
Yeah.
ask the tough questions, get used to tough answers, you
Yeah.
know, appreciate and respect the honesty. Um, in a, I, I don't know what it is about culture these days, but I feel like we've just accepted dating as such a normal, like the idea of breaking up with somebody is just normal. Like it's just normal.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like if you're going to get into a relationship, why not take it fucking serious? You know, like I think people go in with the idea of like, oh well, we could just break up. Like, dude, that's a really bad
hmm.
mindset to have to me.
I'm thinking multiple things. It's what age group we're talking about, because
Ooh.
that changes drastically. Your early 20 struggles is different from early 30 struggles. You know
True.
what I mean?
True.
Because
True.
I've dated a lot older people. I tend to date older people, and
Mm-hmm.
I already have those real conversations. Like, you got kids. Do I see myself being a stepmother, or, am I okay with um, dealing with the step families that comes with it? Am I okay with generational differences? Am I okay with you're already set in your career and I'm still in my career, et cetera, et cetera? It's a different conversation that you will have in the early 20s.
That's true. Very
More
true.
like, will you hang with me past 2 days a week? That's a different, you know what I mean? And it's not right or wrong. I just think it's just understanding contextually what are we dealing with. That's one part of it. I think the other part of it is I think it's not wrong to want to have more sex positive culture. Yay. And I'm glad we have more liberty and range now, right?
True.
The issue is we don't know how to communicate truthfully what do we want,
If
right?
that's all we want. If that's
Right.
all we want, yeah, that's a bar.
And be able to accept that that is what you want. I am not for you, and I'm going to walk away. And I think
Mm-hmm.
we are still, if you say I just want a casual thing, or I just want fuck buddies, whatever it is, I need to understand that's all this is going to be. Until we have the conversation, this is going to be something more. You can't be getting emotionally attached and expecting something more. Or
Mm-hmm.
if you're on a first date or you're Tindering, whatever it is, it's like, oh, I'm just looking for something casual. You can't assume he's a bad guy because he wants that casually. I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of women tend to see, because he wants something casual, not a relationship, therefore he's a bad guy. It's like, no, he's just not in a time where he wants a serious relationship, or he's just not healed enough for a relationship, whatever it is. Being able to see the nuance of that, something that isn't what I want doesn't mean they're a bad thing. It just isn't what I want. I have to be able to discern what is it that I want and look for things that I want,
Mm-hmm.
and not shame the things that aren't like me. This is where we get into
Mm-hmm.
too much, like, so many sub niche cultures that think they're entitled, that the world should operate just for their world, when they're just want a certain thing. That's fine to want your thing, but how do we coexist with our different wants?
Mm-hmm.
So part of it is, okay, that's beautiful. We have a more sex positive range culture. How do we also make sure our culture is acknowledging and building people that can be ready for relationships?
Mm-hmm.
Have that fun. But if this is what you want in a relationship, how do we get you there? If you don't want it, then fine by me. I'm not gonna force it on you. That's your time in your life. You're young, you're exploring, you're learning the trials and tribulations of what it means today, what it means to be a person, what does it mean to be grown, what does it mean to provide, like all these abstract questions you're figuring out. If you in this bracket of life where you're trying to get down, get serious, all right, then let's talk. Do
Yeah.
you know how to be in a relationship? Have you studied it and researched it and practiced it and exercised these things to prep you for a relationship? Because not just going to magically happen the second you go in a relationship. You have to already be practicing these values and these behaviors so that you're ready for the relationship. And I think that's might be the struggle you might be experiencing your point in your life, where you're like, we're the woman that's ready to commit, right?
Mm-hmm.
You might be meeting people that are at the phase in their life where, like, I want something meaningful enough that we're together. And that's my definition of relationship means. It's just we're exclusive.
Yeah.
You have to look for the people that want a relationship. That's your definition what a relationship means for you. And it sounds like you want a life partner. You want something that's full commitment, soul connected, we in it thick and thin type of vibe. That's a different kind of definition of a relationship. And right now in this world, we don't got different words to mean different things. It's just relationship casual. You're like, All right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can't do another. I can't do another. I just can't. I don't care. Like favorite color, okay, cool. Like, dude, what's your 401k look like? What are we talking about? Retirement plans? Like, do you plan on living here for the next 10 years? Because I got a 10-year plan, honey. Like, I can't. I'm not wasting no more time. Like, when it comes to stuff like that, I just don't. I'm not
Yeah,
interested. Not interested in it.
which is fine. It's exhausting to find date in today's world sometimes. That is very fair. I did like 3 weeks of a hinge and I was like, I think I'm good. This is a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's too much
But
effort for me right now.
yeah.
It's too
But
much. Like, I was at the bar. I was at the bar recently, and so this girl starts talking to me, and so we're talking, and oh, you should let me get your Instagram. I was like, please no. I just remember I was like, please no, please no. She's like, what? What's wrong? I was like, just no. Oh, you have a girlfriend? I was like, no, no, just please no. Like, this is fun. This is cool right here. Like, just please, I don't. No, no,
yeah.
thank you. No, thank you. Please no.
Yeah.
I just
Are you still based in Central Coast area?
yeah, here in Oxnard. Yeah, I'm still
And
here in
this is
Oxnard.
why I left Central Coast area because it was a struggle. Like the amount of trauma I picked up from South Side apartment.
Oh my
I was
god.
like, I'm good. There's no one
Mm-hmm.
proper to date that's for me and my type. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
which is a real struggle. Yeah, it's a
I
real
just
struggle.
feel like right now, like I don't know if it's just the freedom of everybody being back out and like here, like right here especially, it's just like
It's
too
very.
wild. It's just too wild. I'm cool off that, fam. No way. I
Yep.
if there
That's
was
Oxnard.
something if there was something that you wish that you could look at younger you and tell yourself about like love and kind of like the things you've went through, like what is something that you wish you could tell her?
I think don't chameleon yourself just to get affection.
Ooh.
I'm very good at chameleoning myself to make the person feel loved. 'Cause I know how to read people very well, so I can. All right, I can already tell you like I can already read the coreness of you. You like this. You're fearful of this. This is your deep motive. This is your pursuing better than you can even articulate it yourself. So I
Ooh.
subconsciously know how to shift. Oh, literally, like woo! I used to make people cry by accident because I was just like, oh, this to me is so normal. Like you're not ready to confront your truth. Ooh,
Mm.
weather's nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I used to, oh my God, shape shift myself to God knows what to so that they feel like they're having a great ass time, great ass date, great ass engagement, when really it was a very curated version of me. It's still me, but it's a curated version of me for them. And then
Mhm.
after many times, it's like I start losing myself because my full authentic whole version of me can't come out consistently with you. I'm always monitoring myself of how much of myself or which version of myself is coming out. Um, and that's like what got me to pretty much stop dating and like hardcore cold turkey not date for a while because I was like, ooh, stand up for men. I can't. I can't do it anymore. This is who am I? I don't even know who I
Mhm.
am anymore half the time. Um, yeah, I think it's definitely the drug of people pleasing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, I think that was definitely one. And I can't remember, like it was like one of my sisters or somebody I heard saying it was like saying the amount of your self-sacrifice, how was it? The amount of your self-sacrifice won't make them love you anymore, but will only cause you to love yourself that much less.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Ooh.
holy smokes, like holy
Yeah.
smokes. And I did realize that with the past, like I kind of like had to do a little deep dive and do some unpacking on the relationships I've been in. And it was like, yeah, I get into this thing of like people please, people please, people please. And then in the end of it all, I get very resentful and all this stuff. And then start questioning myself, like, oh, how could you be so, ignorant or blind? And it's like, you don't need to,
Ooh.
I don't
Yep.
need to do that to my, like, I mean, people go through it, you know what I mean? But like, I just try to tell people, like, don't be so heavy on yourself for, for being you, like for being in your
Mhm.
element. If that's the way you love
Yeah.
somebody and you give, like, yeah, learn your limitations, but don't be mad at yourself for not having them at the time. Like you had to go through
Yeah.
that to learn, have, you know.
Mm, that part.
Oh.
Oh, that is like my entire ex dynamic. I was very great guy, but like did not know how to be a partner at all. It's like great business guy, great friend, great intellectual. What is tenderness, grace, patience, affection?
Mm,
Huh? You know, yeah, it was very controlling energy sometimes. And it was like naturally when you're a people pleaser, you like allow yourself to be controlled eventually.
mm-hmm,
And yeah, I remember just resenting him for a long time because it was like, you don't even allow me to feel and express what I'm frustrated with you about. And I'm letting myself, like, end up walking on tiptoes constantly to be like, am I going to make you, oh, did I upset you? Are you happy now? Like, it becomes like a drug to make this person feel happy. Like he's never happy with me. He's always upset with me. He's always criticizing me until you finally hit a moment of like, I did it. He's like happy.
mm-hmm,
The one little affirmation I've been trying to get out of him, it's like I had to go through those lows and like take the really long time, like years of not dating, to really be hyper aware of like just even outside of dating, like in friendships and social dynamics, like when is that part of me coming out again, to recognize it and not lean into it, And even just this guy I'm seeing right now is like, I was asking his opinion, I was like, would you be okay with that? What are your thoughts on that? He's like, no, don't, like, what, who cares what I fucking think? Like, don't ask for my permission. Like, do it because you want to fucking do it. And that was just so
mm-hmm.
refreshing. And it was like, that's why I'm dating you. Okay. First of all, you don't call my ass out. Like, don't be people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, for what? Like, do it because you want to do it. Consider me, but like, this is the thing you're asking me now does not need my consideration. This is like completely your life, your preference type of thing. It's not like a let's move in together type of conversation where you're involved in that decision making.
Mm-hmm.
And to also be like, you know, because you easily could have used that situation to start the pattern of let's get his approval on certain things, or
Mm-hmm.
things aren't good enough until he's okay with it. And that was like, I fuck with you. Okay,
It's like,
listen.
oh.
Um, it was great. I probably was gonna say the other thing, but it's the real moment. It's like, okay, you're a
Yeah.
grown ass man. You can stay.
Mm.
You can
I
stay.
like that. He brings a smile to your face. That's
Yeah,
so good. That's so good.
refreshing.
That's so good. That's a blessing. Um, yeah, no, like it's good. It is. It is. I am really happy that you're able to come and do this because, you know, I, I grew up in a house of sisters, and I disagree with them about a bunch of shit. But I still think that it's good to always have the dialogue between guys and gals, right? Speaking from their own experiences. Because I feel too like I've been seeing more podcasts of it these days, but I feel like they're always like hyper violent. Like they're very violent
Mm,
conversations.
very
And
mask.
yeah, and
Mask
it
are
yeah,
hyper fan too.
it's like always but it's always these dudes. It's always these dudes coming
Mm,
after these chicks. And it's like, bro, like relax. Like there's no reason to talk this way. Like you could prove a point and not have to talk this way. And I know some of it's, an act for the camera and blah 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 blah, but I think these conversations are good. They're not only productive and healthy, but I think it just helps people make their own decisions. When you're hearing it from both perspectives, because you can say, oh, because how you said right now, like considering other people is a big thing to me. Like if you're always taking into consideration, how I'm feeling and things like that, like I will definitely address it and be like, you don't have to please me, right? But I appreciate that you're considering me in these decisions. Like you're considering how I would feel.
yeah,
And so like these conversations, I hope people can start considering more, even for guys. Like, dude, consider how your girl feels, bro, when you're making certain moves, or when you're planning certain things.
yeah.
Consider it. You know, if she's got a shellfish allergy, be considerate, bro. Don't take her to Red Lobster for dinner. That's not where date night goes.
Oop, that part. Yeah. It's just like basic, I think, basic human empathy that we
Mm-hmm.
lack, I feel like, in the dating scene a lot. It's like, I don't want to say that because you have overly considerate people because they don't know
Yeah.
how to have their own self-love and have boundaries of when. That's actually a great point, is people that are overly considerate is, it's a beautiful thing in a utopian sense, but really what it's telling me is that you have a hard time discerning, has someone earned that type of love.
Ooh.
If you're just giving it out like buffet level to anybody and everybody, it's beautiful in theory, but it's the hard reality that a lot of people are fucked up. And you have to be able to discern, have they earned your trust?
Mm-hmm.
I can give everyone a certain level of love at, like, let's just say level 2. You get a hug, you get a little goodie bag because I brought a bag of candies for Halloween. You get a candy, you get a candy. Like the consequence for me and the effort on me is low. You show me something, and it's not transactional. It's more of like you inspiring me, that you're showing me your character, you're showing me you're showing me signs of appreciation or output or character that's inspiring me to want to give you something or show love for you in a certain kind of way, and let that build. But there's a growth point where beneath all that's happening is you're proving to each other that you deserve this type of love and I want to give you that love versus I'm supposed
Mm-hmm.
to give you that love, you know. So I think a lot of hyper considerate people, it's not really coming from a place of I love you and I want to show love to you. It's coming from a place of I'm fearing I'm not loved. And
Mm-hmm.
so let me outpour it like crazy
Mm-hmm.
just so I have like residual like net 20% of people that are gonna stick by because they've given to 100 people.
Yeah. I was telling one of the buddies the other night, that type of stuff that type of feeling of the fear of not being loved and stuff will have you putting people in positions that they did not earn. And the worst part about, a lot of people is that we don't know how to discern the idea of where somebody sits in my life and where I sit in theirs, and the role I
Mm,
play in their life versus the role they play in mine. And you
yep.
can set yourselves up. And this is where guys and gals all the time, they break up with their boyfriends and girlfriends and they have nowhere to go. They have, their life had became so consumed by, boyfriend and girlfriend. They don't have anything. There's no difference. And you've put this person in a position in your life to take away so much at a blink of an eye where it wasn't quite the same on the other side. You know what I mean? And people got
Mhm.
to be, just be mindful. I hate to tell people to not love the way that they give it, right? But you got to be careful. You got to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for failure, for sure.
Yeah. It's like a lot of hard balance of knowing, am I giving too much or am I
Mm-hmm.
not giving enough? Like a lot of these things just really come down to, it's like how well do you know yourself
Mm-hmm.
and
Self
how
awareness.
secure are you really how secure are you really? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Because everything when you, all these like talks, conversations about dating and society and, this discourse, you have the squad of people that they're doing too much of this. We got to be more like this. Or they're doing too little of this. We got to do more of this. It's like, and then you hit a point of like, which one to take? which path is the path? And like the hard, you get to a point where the real truth is nothing is ever black and white. Nothing is ever binary. So everything
Mm-hmm.
is nuanced. Everything is gray. And how do you know which one's the right decision to make at what that exact point for that context? That's hard because no one can give you
Yeah.
that answer. You have to know yourself enough, have a right intuition enough, be intuitive enough, be self aware enough, trust your character. Are you acting on right character to do that said thing? I have to be able to know at what moment this person's not healthy for me. I'm not giving you my love. It's not that I'm going to be unloving to you. You're just going to get a ceiling of my love. Oh, this
Mhm.
person's great. I need to be aware. Am I taking too much of your love and I'm not giving it back? Am I checking
Mhm.
myself hard enough to make sure I'm watering that pot too with you? So
Mhm.
even for myself, I have to be aware of like when am I leaning too much into what can be selfish or narcissistic, and when am I being too self-doubting and people pleasing. And it's just this like pendulum of like, okay, we're just trying to stay in the secure spot. Let's just make sure we do
Um,
what we
I'm
can.
a I'm a serious I have a serious problem with being a giver. And
Mm.
I'm really trying to figure out I'm really trying to figure out my balance with that. But I like to think that I'm a loving person. I like to think that I'm a nice person. And I hope people can resonate when I say my love my love would be the moonlight, right? And the one that I
Mhm.
want to love, I want to treat like the moon. So where the world can feel my love, feel the love from me. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to greet every person that I see. I want to be able to have,
Mhm.
conversations with anybody I come into contact with. I never want to be
Right.
seen as a mean or hateful person. But the person that I treat with a certain level of love is going to be the thing that radiates what I do. You know what I mean? And that's the way I want to look at the next person that I really decide to try to date is they radiate the things that I try to do in life. Right? They have those qualities. It radiates off of them. It's undeniable. Like I don't have to guess. Like I don't have to wonder.
Mm.
I really want to be able to see it through and through because I like to think that I wear my feelings and my emotions on my sleeves pretty well, which might not always be a good thing either though. Might not always be a good thing either though,
Like
but
part
hey,
two.
hey, we could work on that together.
Yeah. When you say radiate or light, like you're saying the values you want in a person's radiating off of that person.
Hmm. The qualities, yeah. People.
Yeah.
Oh, people say, oh, I want to date somebody who's educated, right? Or they want to work on their education, but then they get upset that their boyfriend or girlfriend are loaded with classes every semester. But that's the kind of thing I want to see. I want you to be so
Mm.
busy. I want you to be busy as hell. And if you can make a little bit of time for me, that's great. That's where love lies. But all that's what I want to see. I want to see those type of things radiating off of them. Not just something that they speak, not something, oh, I
Mm.
want to do this, that
Some
they're
of the
doing it.
actions with the words.
Absolutely.
This is where the observation comes in.
Yeah,
I'm
I get
watching you.
it.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when you were saying about your heart on your sleeve, wearing your heart, what? I feel like I'm interviewing you now. I'm a really curious person too, so it's like helping me understand where you are at in your life. Is you what is the consequence or attention you're feeling with wearing your heart on your sleeve?
um I think the worst problem that I've had with it is those emotions being shown, right? Whether it's frustrated or I'm feeling concerned, sad, whatever. They've never landed well on the dice.
Mm.
Always like used later on in conversation of like you're too emotional or you get too mad or X, Y, and Z. Like you know what I mean? And you know, though I may have a temper, um,
That's the way you said it.
though I
Like
may
you
have a
have that
temper,
temper.
I don't get mad all the time. So the things that I'm getting mad over, let's please focus on that because there's something there. Um, like there's something there where like boundaries are getting crossed. Um,
Let me know too if I'm getting too invasive with you. I'm just plucking this because I think it's a real thing that I think is a thing not talked about enough is about men's feelings. It gets
mm-hmm,
stuck at layer one versus the
mm-hmm,
deeper parts of what comes with the reality of we want an emotional guy with such their feelings. All right, here it is. How are you gonna deal with it?
mm-hmm.
So I think you're a perfect, beautiful example of that. Let's peel the layers if you're open to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, do you believe when they say that you're too emotional, or do you think you are a healthy dose of emotions and they are unable to receive it?
Um, I think a little bit of both. I think that what I've learned to tell myself is that my emotions operate on a certain bandwidth, and they may just not have the bandwidth to receive that. Um, there has been parts of me where I know was unhealthy, right? Like, um, oh my god, like just thinking about things I've gotten mad over now that like seriously make no
Mm,
sense. Like it I mean, obviously it doesn't matter now. Um,
but
but
it
there
still
was things
triggered
that
something. Yeah.
yeah, there was things I should have walked past, or there was things that I put up with trying to be a people pleaser. There was things that I put up with that I shouldn't have, because that I did, though, it led into other insecurities and other things
Yeah.
that pour onto other people.
Hmm.
And so there's a little bit of both. I won't lie.
Which is good though. Like that's part of accepting this is who I am. Like
Yeah.
I'm very blunt. Like there's the great part of me and there's a shadow parts of me.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to know you're pushing my shadow side. Let me walk away real quick so you go catch my light side. You
Oh my
know?
god.
And I think that's part of like, the journey. I think in your position is when you are emotional guy, there's a lot of women that want an emotionally in touched guy. There's a lot of girls that think they want it and they don't know how to receive it because
Mm-hmm.
they don't even know how to process their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're at a point. Hi, motorcycle. They're at a point where I'm gonna go by the motorcycle. It's right there. Okay. Um, my house on the literal public street, the main street. I was like, all right, gonna sleep through this. Um, but I think you're at a point where it's or I think a lot of girls have to unpack toxic femininity just as much as men have to unpack toxic masculinity, right? And most of men's arc is how do I get more in touch with my feelings? You're in a unique position where your arc is similar to toxic femininity. It might be shown as toxic masculinity, but you have the coreness where you have overflow of feelings. And I know
Mm-hmm.
I manage this. And so if you're a girl and you're not a woman, you don't know how to receive that. And it's just like war on warfare. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of manipulative women out there that don't realize how conniving they can get with their emotions. And I've experienced it just being, femme spaces. I'm very mask and femme. So it's like I got my bros and guys, I got my femi femmes, but it's like,
I know Jazz is the homie.
you know,
Jazz
and
is
it's
the
probably why
homie.
I think that's why I understand guys because it's like I'm actually around guys. It's like when you're not around the people, you have a perception of who they are versus who they actually are. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I've been a range of fucking men to understand the life for them when it comes to trying to find a girl, how to get the girl, and maintain the girl,
Yeah.
and keep the
Oh
girl.
my
They're
god.
all three different stages of struggle, you know. So it's like when you are grown, like when you see that, it's like, ooh, that's sexy. Like you actually
Mm-hmm.
know how to articulate your feelings. You actually know how to express it. You actually know how to monitor yourself when you're like about to hit your ceiling and step away. So it's not going to be toxic for us. Like it's a lot of just being so shamelessly you. It's like you have to get to points like, fuck, I am like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's the difference between like being entitled of my toxicity versus feeling empowered by like the healthy version of who I am and saying I deserve good things in my life versus the entitlement of I'm a shitty person. So what? I can't change. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
shitty just to be shitty. You're like, well, you're gonna be single for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, there's a weird feeling I get when I just hear people say, "Well, that's just how I am." And it's like that's great. Who you are is great, but if you just worked on this a little bit, I'm just saying you'd see the
Yeah.
results. And
Right.
as a dancer, especially, I find it, I think dancing has made my look on people so bad because it's like, bro, just practice. Like, if you suck at this dance, just fucking practice, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you other than try again and again and again and again until you get it right.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I hear people say that's just the way I am, it's like, it's very frustrating. And that's a big red flag for me when I'm listening to somebody and they're talking about certain, flaws and things that they're trying to work through or don't. They're just saying that's just how I am. I'm like, ugh, I don't know. Like, hit me up when that changes a little bit because I'm always trying to get better. I always want to be better.
Yeah.
And that's that. I don't know. That's a big one for me though.
Yeah. And I think for me, my brain thing, I'm a very nuanced person. So I always think of like the opposite ends of both of the same thing, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I understand when people say that, it's like, that's just the way I am. It's like, you know, I'm a chatty person. That's just the way I am. It's like,
That's
fair.
one
That's who
thing.
you are. It's like, it's one thing if it's like your core traits or personality about you, understandable. But it's like, if it's negatively impacting your life and you're still saying that's just the way I am, it's like,
Yeah. Benevolent versus malevolent actions. Like, if you're just
yes.
chatty and you're just a bubbly person, I might not like that. Maybe I am more of an introverted guy. I want somebody I can kind of sit more in quiet with. That's one thing. That's just a starch of preference. But
Right.
if every time you talk, you're disrespecting people and you're just being foul, like that's
Talking
different.
over.
You might need to work on that, champ. You might need to, let's deliver information with sensitivity. Let's
Mhm.
practice that. Let's practice some communication skills.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost want to say, part of me wants to like, if I, well, I'm gonna manifest it and speaking to someone for accountability. When I'm starting my podcast, um, I want to like almost, in a way, rebrand the idea of like being sensitive because that's such a negative
Mm,
connotation. Like,
mm-hmm.
really, what we're asking is compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Oversensitivity is still now becoming this like gate kept punitive policing people kind of framework. I'm like, no, you're just reproducing the same pain. Um,
Oof.
right. Like, really, what's going to change things is from an essence and energy of like love and compassion and patience and understanding people that are different from you. I don't have to agree with it, but I have to at least understand, why do you choose these things? Why do you
Mm-hmm.
operate like this? Um, and I think in the narrative of like social change and like betterment, all this stuff, there's an entitlement that the way I think is better than the way you think. So I'm gonna shame you and punish you until you do it,
Mm,
kind of thing, versus nurturing you and inspiring you to want to shift that character. It's a stronger type of change than it's a change out of inspiration versus a change out of fear.
yeah. Yeah, to be inspired to change is always to me, is always not only a healthier route, but it's the route that is going to stick compared to
Yes.
fear based, because
Right.
once the fear is alleviated, there's no other reason to continue this course. But if you're inspired to follow this course, you find every reason to do it because you're inspired to do so. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely for sure. Hey, I'm manifesting it for you, girl. I'm manifesting it for you. I hope, and I really do.
Yeah.
Dude, if you started one today, you should have started one yesterday. But if you start one
Call
to,
out. Uh,
if you start one today, I'm telling you, it's going to be so successful. I see you
oh,
doing really well doing one.
thank you. Yeah. I feel like if we get all comments like that, I'm like, you're really pressuring me to start this. This is a call in to start this
Yes.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a call from the universe and I would love to do, I would love to do whatever I could to
Yeah.
support it. Like
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
really I'm telling you from just watching those few clips, I was like, yo, she's got something for this. And then just knowing you
Yeah.
from working back in the day and shit, man, like
Yeah.
good person, good soul, and I'd really like to see you win at it. Like that it'd be really
Yeah.
tight.
Thank you. That means
Well,
a lot because I've definitely a lot of self doubting to get to this point to be like, do I have enough balls and gumption to start a podcast?
you do. You do.
Uh, I think I get lost because I feel like everyone, what made me hesitate so hard for so long, like the YouTuber podcast content creation space, is like
Hmm.
everyone's trying to be a something. Everyone's trying to catch a 2 seconds of fame. Um, I'm the exact like demographic of people that I can see people pigeonholing me into like she's just trying to catch fame. She's just like, those type of content creator influencers, Pasha, and I've come to terms like I've tried to dodge this path as many times and I realize it's like, okay, I think this is like naturally what I do anyway, paid or unpaid. Like I might as well lean into it and just see where this goes. Who
Hmm.
knows? So
Paid or unpaid, I would still do this. I do not get paid to do this fucking shit. I love to do it, and it's just been fun.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so, it's like that old saying: if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So why not try it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who cares?
Yeah,
Who cares? Who
yeah.
dude? who cares? Jazz, just do it. You got this.
Yeah. It's the scarcity versus abundance mindset. And I'm like, okay, you can do this.
You
Put your
got it.
boots in. You got this. All of that.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Well, if there's anything that you would like to leave the podcast with before we go ahead and sign off, please let them know.
Yes. I don't really have much right now. I'm gonna perform a walking piece in Chicago. I feel like most people are in LA though, but I'm like, hey, we're gonna be at Carnival, little walking piece.
Ooh, Carnival
Um,
Chicago.
Carnival Chicago. Actually, my first carnival was actually in Chicago, not in LA, which is hilarious to me. Because they always do on a Thursday. It's like such a random day to me. And then by the
Yeah.
time I hear about it, it's in like people's posts after the show. I'm like, wait, what? There's a carnival in the first place. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So that I guess I'm starting our podcast. If it comes through, I'll holler at y'all. And I'm just trying to get into production and live stream production spaces. I think I'm just trying to really delve into freelancing entrepreneurial life and take the jump instead of always trying to find the bag where it stops me from doing what I want and it takes
Hmm.
time away from doing what I want. Let me just jump full force into it and see where it goes, type of thing. So, yeah, that's
There we
kind of where
go.
I'm at. Yeah.
Well, the wonderful, powerful Jasmine Lee, thank you for coming on to the
Yes.
smoking section. I hope we get to do
So, what y'all
another
call it?
episode.
You call
Yeah,
it smoking section?
it's the smoking section.
That's funny. I didn't even know that. That's
Oh
funny.
yeah, the smoking section with your host Big Corpse, the one and only.
A big corpse. That is, I'm learning all the branding names, the taglines.
Yep. Yeah, no, we've been doing this for just over 2.5 years now. So it was
Wow.
Friday's food for thoughts, and then it turned into the smoking section,
Oh,
and
wow.
then the smoking section hosts the usual Tuesday podcast that I do with two of my buddies. And so it's been having
Yeah.
some fun.
That's fun. I
Well,
love
thank you.
podcasts. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on to the show. Your insight is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you too. It's so nice catching up with you and seeing you again. Like it just brings back all the nostalgia back
I
in the day,
know.
Central Coast area. Yeah.
It was so
I'm
fun.
I'm actually gonna be in LA end of May, top of June. So if you happen to drop by LA, hit me up.
All right, we'll be in touch. All right, Jess.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank
Yes.
you. All right, everybody.
Oopsies.